Yeah.
2 years ago I made this placard. 2 years ago I said ceasefire and I said peace. I deliberately used 3 languages. I deliberately picked Arabic, I deliberately picked Hebrew, and I deliberately picked English so that everyone would know what we were calling for. We were calling for peace. Not just in Gaza, not just in the West Bank, across Palestine, across Israel. We were calling for an end to the violence and destruction. At that time, we couldn't have imagined the 2 years that would then unfold. The thousands, tens of thousands of lives that have been lost. All of those displaced, damaged, traumatized, wounded, injured. Those that will never recover from what the last 2 years have brought them in Gaza. We've seen increased settler colonisation within the West Bank. We have seen increased attacks on Palestinians who live within the West Bank. We have seen the world sit by and our global leaders be complicit in their silence. And then eventually, after 2 years, call Palestine a state. When it lies in rubble, when Gaza lies in rubble, when Gaza City is now just a scene of destruction. We are all desperately hoping this peace holds. We are hoping this ceasefire holds. We want to see hostages from both sides released. We want to see the dead given appropriate and honourable burials. But then the real work begins. Because then the rest of us need to step up. We need to make sure our governments put their money where their mouth is. We need reparations, we need rebuilding, we need aid. We need to support Palestinians in being able to, within a reasonable time frame, have self-determination and be able to lead a Palestine for Palestinians. Please let the ceasefire hold.
After 2 years, Palestinians in Gaza have been able to wake up after a night's sleep without having to worry about being bombed in their tents or pulled apart in shrapnel. So we are feeling hopeful that maybe this is the start of something that will give some semblance of peace in the region. However, there is still a long way to go. As of today, the Israeli hostages have still not been released. There are thousands of Palestinians in Israeli detention. Many have not been charged or tried with anything, and many children, men and women, have been abducted from Gaza and the West Bank. So they are still in prison. We also are aware that Palestinians are not going to be getting back the whole of the Gaza Strip at the moment. The Israelis have said they're going to keep their troops in over 50% of the area. Gaza is devastated. When you look at the pictures, it's all just gray. So there is a long way to go, not to mention in the West Bank, where people are still suffering from occupation and apartheid. So, though we are feeling hopeful today, and we certainly are grateful that things have developed, I would say that it's probably up to the millions of people around the world, including you, who have not turned away and who have kept stepping up and keeping the focus on the Palestinians over these last 2 years. So we have to keep our eyes on Palestine. Today we have our new Gaza Faces, Not Just Numbers poster, where we can see some of the 67,000 or more Palestinians that have been killed in Gaza. And it's just heartbreaking to see their faces and to read about the lives that they had. I've got a couple announcements to make. This week at the Pickakoi Center, there is going to be the film From Ground Zero, which is produced by Michael Moore, the American filmmaker, and it is 22 short films from Gaza. Now you might think that they'll be depressing films, but my sister who's seen it in America says it's very uplifting and shows the resilience of the people in Gaza who've been surviving the genocide there. So there's a matinee on Wednesday at 1 o'clock and then an evening showing on Thursday at 7:30. Brian still has his Zaytun Fair Trade produce from Palestine, so he'll be up by the cathedral there. And next week we have an amnesty meeting at 11 o'clock in the Pickakoi Cafe. And at 2:15, Sheena will be initiating her new embroidery project, and people are invited to go along to the Piggy Cafe for that at 2:15. Now, I just would like to finish by reading you a message that I had from our friend Dr. Salim in the refugee camp, the Shufat refugee camp in Jerusalem. And he says, after reading Fiona's wonderful Orkney news story from today, he says, your activities bring us more faith, hope, peace, and justice. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please keep remembering us, Dr. Salim. So it is nice to know that our small actions up here are being felt and seen and appreciated by people who are still living under oppression and occupation. Now, just to finish off, obviously people all over the world are celebrating a respite in this carnage. Now, we can decide today whether we want to continue on with these vigils, given that it's still very early days. How do you feel about that? We can maybe have a little discussion now, or come again next week and see how things go, and then discuss it then. But I will just leave.
I think next week
another week.
the whole the ceasefire could have been broken by the Israelis by next week. So I think we need to come back next week, and as I say, there's a lot to be done. So I think we need to go and not just stop the ceasefire, and then work out how we best do that.
Does anyone have a different Yeah. I guess there's. Okay, does everyone sort of feel that that's a good way to proceed?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, we will then see you here again next week at 1 o'clock, and we will still have our Gaza Faces posters to remember those who've been lost. And I just would like to say, really, from like my own feeling, you know, I'm just so grateful to all of you who have turned up week after week, month after month, year after year. Last week, in a massive gale, you know, there were still at least a dozen of you here turning up. So thank you, you know, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.